And if someone thinks like that and would ever become an elder, they would be in for a huge shock. And they probably, no, score out probably, definitely would not like it. And very soon they would be making noises indicating that they no longer want to be an elder, because they had a wrong view of what an elder was, and when it didn't live up to their expectations, they wanted to bail out. This is what Jesus Christ teaches us about being Christians, and perhaps even more specifically about leadership in the church. Matthew 20. Jesus says to the disciples when they had some foolish notions about lording it, "Ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and that they that are great exercise authority upon them." That's the way it is in the world, in politics. "But it shall not be so among you." That's not the way it is in the church. "Whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister or servant. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Because," and this is the model for leadership in the church, "even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many." Leadership in the church therefore means service and suffering. That's the idea of office in the congregation. 1 Peter 5 verse 3, dealing specifically with elders, says this: "Neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being examples to the flock." Not Lord, but example. Being a faithful elder means that from most people you will gain more respect. That is true. From others you will receive more criticism. From the devil you will receive more attacks and more temptations, and from God you will receive stricter judgment, according to James 3 verse 1. Though, and this needs to be said, he will also give you grace and strength sufficiently and liberally, and then reward you greatly. What is it that 1 Timothy 3 verse 1 says? "This is a true saying, if a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work." Work. That's the word the Holy Spirit uses to describe the office of elder and indeed other special offices in the church. Work. That's what it means at a very basic level to be an elder. It involves more nights out. It involves more visiting, more driving. It involves praying more for the church and its witness. It involves praying more for the people of the church. It involves loving the people more fervently. It involves sacrifices and late nights and loss of sleep. Work. That's what it is. That's the word used here. He desires a good work. And so, because this passage speaks about desiring, and we'll deal with that this evening, the question therefore is, if you want to be an elder, are you ready and willing for this? That is, do you want more work? Or are you at a stage in your life where you think that for me, running the house and doing my job and other responsibilities is a struggle enough as it is, and any more I couldn't cope with? Well, then you're not in a position to be an elder. More work, more nights out, more thinking, more praying about issues, sometimes difficult issues that arise in the church, so that what you have become used to, as referring to free time, my own time when I can enjoy myself, that is halved or slashed even more so. And if you are the sort of person who skips the odd Sunday service or Wednesday Bible study because you feel a bit tired, not tired enough that would keep you back from work though, or if you don't feel up to it, well then you're not ready to be an elder, because you have to learn to act as an elder according to principle, overriding principle, and not just how you feel. And because you have to rate the church more important than your own interests and comfort. It's a good work, being an elder. This, of course, raises questions about your work now as a church member. Maybe you don't do much work, though you could. Maybe you're simply not willing to do much work. And maybe you're only willing to do that sort of work that suits you. I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't do that, but, well, that falls in with my plans, so I'll do that. In other words, cutting through all of that, you're just plain selfish. Right? And then when someone does, let's say, ask you to do something, your response is generally no. So that after a while people realize, well, there's no point asking because he always says no. And when the person says no, you sort of see their nose going up a little bit into the air, and the sensation impresses itself upon you that that person thinks that doing that is sort of beneath them. Beneath them. And that's an interesting way to speak of it, because Christ has something to say about that in John 13. A time when he girded himself, took a towel and washed his disciples' feet, and he bowed down in front of them, beneath him, and washed their feet. And then when he completed that action, he said, I have done this to you to give you an example that you ought to do likewise to each other. And I'm your Lord, and I did that. But then the attitude of some is, well, I wouldn't do this or that because that's too much hassle and that would put me out. And then you're getting to the bottom of it. Well, that's just it. That would put me out. And perish the thought that the person should ever be put out. And then sometimes other people are working. Other people are working around you. You may not even notice that they're doing it, and you would hardly even lift a finger to help. I'm talking about an extreme instance here of indolence. But you can see that since the office of elder is work, then someone who's not prepared to work for the church is in no position to be nominated for an elder. And of course, in a congregation, when the consistory asks people, who do you think would be a good elder? Not that we're necessarily going to do this, but we want to see what the Spirit says in the body of believers. Such people's names never come up. The principle is, Christ taught us this, he who is faithful in that which is least will be faithful in that which is much. And so if someone won't do the little things, then they won't do the greater things. And they cannot be trusted with the greater things either. Because people sometimes wrongly get the notion, well, I wouldn't do that because that's beneath me. But if somebody gave me a really big work, where I could swank about and be seen as a great fellow, well, I would do that. That's the way the Gentiles operate. That's not the way things operate in the Church of Jesus Christ. On the other hand, the person who is willing to help and to serve, and I trust this applies to you, the person who is willing to help and serve and do whatever they can because they love Christ and the church, they have an attitude of service. Service. These are the people that God is working in. Someday they will be an elder. An elder. Maybe I could put it like this. Becoming an elder is not having other people serve you. It's not what it is. It is you serving other people. 1 Timothy 3 verse 1 calls it work. The work of serving. And if you're afraid of work, and if you're, as some people, especially in the world, who spend great time and ingenuity trying to get out of work, sometimes so much time and ingenuity going out of work that they could have actually done the work, then you're not ready. Now all of this might be terribly discouraging to you.